The Roman Empire once stood as a colossal power, its legions legendary, its engineering marvels dotted the landscape, and its laws shaped Western civilization. For centuries, Rome was the center of the known world, a beacon of order, culture, and immense strength. However, history teaches us that even the grandest empires are subject to change and decline. The story of Rome's fall is a complex narrative woven from many threads, a gradual unraveling that spanned centuries. Understanding this decline requires us to look beyond dramatic battles and explore the internal weaknesses and external pressures that slowly eroded its mighty structure. The journey from a small Italian city-state to a sprawling empire is remarkable, but equally compelling is the story of how this seemingly unshakable edifice eventually crumbled. By understanding the various elements at play, we can gain a clearer picture of why this once dominant force faded, leaving behind a legacy that continues to influence our world. Rome's story began with its founding by Romulus and Remus in 753 BC, a small settlement on the banks of the Tiber River. For centuries it was a kingdom, then a republic, gradually growing in strength and influence within the Italian peninsula. The expansion of Rome was relentless through military prowess, strategic alliances, and incorporating conquered peoples. By the 1st century AD, the Republic had given way to the Empire, with Augustus as its first emperor ushering in the Pax Romana. The peak of Roman power and stability is often associated with the 2nd century AD during the reign of emperors like Trajan and Hadrian. Trade flourished, cities grew, and Roman law and culture spread throughout the provinces. This was a time of immense building projects, including aqueducts, temples, amphitheatres, and public baths. The administration of such a vast entity was a complex undertaking, relying on a network of governors and officials. During this golden age, the Roman Empire was a melting pot of cultures, languages, and religions, all under the overarching umbrella of Roman rule. Despite the apparent strength of the Pax Romana, underlying issues culminated in the crisis of the 3rd century. This era, spanning from 235 AD to 284 AD, was characterized by civil war, foreign invasions, and severe economic depression. Ambitious generals frequently fought for the imperial throne, leading to a rapid turnover of rulers. Constant warfare drained the imperial treasury, leading to rampant inflation and disrupting trade. The sophisticated economic network that had supported the empire's prosperity began to fray, leading to widespread hardship and social unrest. The loyalty of the army shifted from the state to individual commanders, further fueling the cycle of civil war. The crisis of the 3rd century exposed fundamental weaknesses in the Roman system: its over-reliance on expansion for economic growth, the immense power of the military and politics, and the challenges of governing such a vast and diverse territory. Although the empire would eventually be stabilized by strong emperors like Diocletian, the damage done during this period was significant and contributed to long-term vulnerabilities. The immense challenges of the 3rd century crisis made it clear that governing the vast Roman Empire as a single entity was becoming increasingly difficult. Emperor Diocletian, who came to power in 284 AD, recognized this and implemented a series of radical reforms. One of his most significant innovations was the Tetrarchy, or rule of 4, where the empire was divided into eastern and western halves. While the Tetrarchy itself did not last long, the concept of dividing administrative responsibility for the empire persisted. Emperor Constantine later reunified the empire under his sole rule, but also established a new capital in the east, Constantinople, in 330 AD. The formal division of the empire into the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire is often dated to the death of Emperor Theodosius III in 395 AD. From this point onwards, the two halves developed along separate paths with distinct political, economic, and cultural characteristics. The split, while perhaps necessary for administrative purposes, ultimately left the western half more exposed and vulnerable to the challenges that would lead to its eventual disintegration. The term barbarian was used by the Romans to describe peoples living outside the borders of the empire. From the late 4th century onwards, the pressure from these groups intensified significantly. Large-scale migrations, often triggered by movements of other peoples further east, pushed various Germanic tribes towards and into Roman territory. The Western Roman Empire, already weakened by internal strife and economic problems, struggled to cope with these large-scale movements of people. One of the most traumatic events symbolizing the West's decline was the sacking of Rome itself. In 410 AD, the Visigoths, led by Alaric, captured and plundered the city of Rome. Later, in 455 AD, Rome was sacked again by the Vandals, who had established a kingdom in North Africa. These events underscored the West's growing inability to protect even its most symbolic heartland. The traditional date marking the fall of the Western Roman Empire is 476 AD. In that year, the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic general Odoacer. Odoacer sent the imperial insignia to Zeno, the Eastern Roman emperor, effectively acknowledging that there was no longer a need for a separate emperor in the West. While this event was significant, it was more of a final whimper than a sudden bang. It is crucial to remember that only the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 AD. The Eastern Roman Empire, with its capital in Constantinople, continued to thrive and considered itself the true successor to Rome. The legacy of Rome in the West also continued through the Catholic Church, the Latin language, and the Roman legal concepts adopted by the new Germanic kingdoms. The fall of Rome offers timeless lessons about the complexities of maintaining large empires and the interplay of internal weaknesses and external pressures.